Hello there, my name is Solmaz, and you are listening to Tabling Thoughts podcast. In this podcast, I talk about my experiences as a relationship coach and psychotherapist. The little things that I noticed in my clients' day to day lives, which may affect the quality of their lives and relationships enormously, and for some reasons, they don't pay that much of attention to them. As I mentioned, I'm a relationship coach and I also practice as a psychotherapist in Ontario, Canada. In order to get more information about me, you may check my Instagram account, YouTube, or my other podcasts via the links in description. You are listening to episode number 12, and I'm going to talk about the critical control points of your life. The story of this episode goes back to the road trip I had with my family last week. We had a destination. We were supposed to drive for an hour and 20 minutes or something. And halfway through our trip, we noticed that we had passed the exit. We were supposed to get out of the road. We had gone along the wrong direction for more than 20 minutes. Finding the new direction coming back took us quite a time. And on the way back, we noticed plenty of signs that could have shown us or were the indication that we should have gone out of that road pretty earlier. We had even passed by a huge industrial area that wasn't initially on the map. So we had many signs showing us initially that we were not on the right path. Reflecting on that experience, I told my husband that I should talk about this in my podcast because there are many times in our lives that we have a path, we have a destination, we have a goal, and on the way to that destination and goal, we do not revisit the direction. We do not look at the signs along the way. I always say that it's kind of like that we put it on autopilot, meaning that there is no manual control, no manual correction, nothing. We left it on autopilot and we thought, okay, from A to Z, this is the road, bye bye. And along the way, there are many signs indicating that we need to revisit the path that we have chosen. Yet we neglect all those signs. The simplest example could be the example of being in a relationship for quite a bit. And in the first weeks or months of dating, you see that, okay, this person has the same core values as I do, as per as what they say and they show in the beginning. They have the same family background or they have the same cultural background I want. All the items that may be part of your value system or part of the prerequisites you have in mind that you want to meet in your future partner. But along the way, you see many bold, clear red flags or signs showing that this person may not be the one for you. Yet you think that this is it. We are living together or we have married. This is life. I'm going to just live the life the way it is. And then the sadness comes, depression comes, lack of motivation comes, consistent sorrowness comes. Yet we don't pay attention to the signs till something huge happens in our marriage or in our relationship. And eventually that huge sign or that huge incident wakes us up. And when we look back, we see, oh my God, what did happen? How far I came? Why didn't I pay attention to these many of red flags that I could have seen them way earlier? And then the blame comes. That critical whisperer starts talking so loudly to you, right? In my initial story, the little country trip we had, when we noticed after 20-25 minutes of going to the wrong direction that we should turn back and drive another 25 minutes, at first my husband was really mad at himself. I told him, you know what? I think there is something for my audience. I think there is a good lesson. We saw many signs here along the way. And for some reason, we chose not to pay attention to them. We chose just to talk, listen to the music, and enjoy the way, although it was not the correct way to go. The first idea came to my mind was this episode of this podcast, and the second one was how to find the critical points way before. In the field of quality control of food industry, there is a concept that I'm not sure if it's still there. Like 20 years ago, I used to work for a food industry plant, the factory, and we had that as a kind of quality control ISO kind of method. And it's called HACCP, which stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. Prior to HACCP system, almost all of the food industry companies had the quality control system that was based on taking the sample from the final product, making sure it meets all the requirements and standards for the quality control system. So there was a huge disadvantage on this system. What was it? That if the final product had not met all the requirement and standard points, the whole batch of production would go to garbage, out of line, right? But HACCP brought a very interesting point. In hazard analysis critical control point, we used to find the critical control points of a whole food industry company, the plant, meaning that when I used to work, for example, for margarine production and puff pastry productions, we used to find the critical control points that if any of them would be below the standard system, would damage the final products. Like one of them could be in the process of adding water and skim milk powder to the oil. That part was the part that if the mixture wasn't according to the standards, it would affect the quality of the final product enormously. Identifying these points would help us as a quality control managers to prevent the final damage or final waste. Now let's imagine you can find the critical control points in your system. Any goal setting you have, you find the critical control points and focus on them. Meaning that for us, one of the critical control points driving to that destination was to identify the exit points and make sure we know the order of those exit points prior reaching them, because the road was completely unknown, not familiar for us. In relationships, critical control points could be the parts that if you're dating, if you see the person's friends, or if you see their family member, or facing a sudden incident, the reaction of that person to that sudden incident could be a critical control point. Because some show anger issues, they show fear, anxious attachment issues, or many other examples. So, my friends, this episode's purpose is to find the critical control points of different parts of your life and focus on them. You can prevent many of them before the damage is done. I hope this episode was helpful for you. I would love to read the comments about critical control points that you have identified along the way in your life. Till next episode, take good care of yourself.